All right, I am getting my engine warmed up because today I'm going to be checking and adding oil in my Volkswagen Passat. It's a 2013. So let's jump into it. I recommend a funnel. It's nice to have. You don't absolutely have to have one, but it helps. Some napkins, so when you're checking it, you can wipe it off and check your dipstick. And then 5W30 or 5W40 motor oil. And the first thing we're going to do is make sure our car is up to temperature. So we're a little low. We're going to give it a few minutes. We want this line to be at the 190. You can see in there it says 190. That's fully warmed up. So we're going to give that a second. We want our engine warm. We also want our vehicle relatively level. You don't want it, I pulled it out of our driveway because it's a little bit of a slope and you might not get a full reading. So flat ground and engine warm, super important. Let's check that engine again. All right, we're just about at that 190 mark. We're just a hair under, but as long as this needle's up and the engine's hot, so the oil, as you're adding it, it filters down and you check it. So let's hop out and check our dipstick. Another thing I recommend is pop out your owner's manual. And I did this before I went and bought oil, but this tells you where the reading is on your dipstick, where the opening is. That guy is right here. So that's the opening to add oil. And then it will tell you the engine oil that you need. So this takes a 5W30 or a 5W40. That's up here. So check it, because sometimes your models might change something like a fluid. Generally, they do 5-year runs and it's the same vehicle, but small things might change over time. So just double check, make sure you're putting in the the right oil. This guy, we open up, the engine is off, but we open that. That's the engine's nice and warm, car's level. Let's open our oil. All right, and a super important thing, make sure this doesn't come off in the vehicle. That's on there. And if there is this one doesn't have it, but if it has like a foam foil thing on it, make sure you get as much of that off. People do drop either the cap, this little plastic ring in there, or that foil. You do not want that going in your engine. So I got my oil open here. I got my cap undone and made sure there was no foil or anything that's going to fall into my oil when I add the oil. Now let's pull the dipstick. So when you do this, you're going to pull this guy out, and it has a weather seal, so you got to give it a firm tug. Then we look at it and we give it a wipe like this, get everything off of it. And because oil's been splashing around in there, it's covered the dipstick, so this will actually give us a reading while the engine's off, an accurate reading. And let's take a look. And when you're reading this, it says in the manual, if it's all the way to this top edge, you're in the right zone. If it's down to the middle-ish, you add, I think it was 0.5 liters. And if it's down to here, it's a full quart. So it looks like we need to add just a little bit of oil to this. So I'm going to throw my dipstick back in. Now, the most important thing is you can overfill it. So you do not want to overfill your engine with oil. So one thing you can do is go by the markings on here. There's milliliters on one side and ounces on the other. So I'm going to go and put a little bit in. And it's good to, if you go back and forth, I'm going to throw, you don't absolutely have to have a funnel, but it is nice. And one thing about oil containers is pour this way, and the the container won't burp as much. So we just get a nice smooth pour. So I'm just going to do let's see. I'll check my side here. So that's not even 0.5. So I'm going to do a little bit more. And they say let it sit for 5 minutes while the oil works its way down. So I'm going to let it sit and we're going to come back to it. All right, we're going to check our dipstick again. So let's wipe it and then reinsert it, just so we know we're getting an accurate reading. Let's see. I didn't quite. Make sure this has a weather seal, so make sure it clicks all the way down, and then pull it up, because you will get an inaccurate. See, that didn't really move it that much, and I put 200 milliliters in, so I feel safe doing it again. All right, so I'm going to add this down to the 600 milliliter line, and we'll check it again. Yep, and we're just about there. A touch more, and we're doing this back and forth, adding a little and checking, because you can overfill it, and we don't want to do that. All right, and so we're going to check it. So clean it. Make sure it's all the way in. This should be touching this. Pull it all the way out. And we moved it up right to the line. So we're right level with this line. I'm going to check it just one more time. So I just did a second check. It's right at this notch, so that's perfect. All right, so another thing is, if it goes past, this is our max line right here. If it goes past this, that's bad. You're gonna have to drain oil. That's a whole nother thing. So just take your time and add a little bit at a time. Check it, add a little bit at a time. The manual says wait 5 minutes, 5 to let the oil drain from the top down in there, and then you take a reading. So make sure you're giving yourself some time. You're adding a little bit. Use your gauge on the side, and that's it. I'm going to pull our funnel there and throw our cap on. Do not forget to put your cap back on, and that pops into place there. And that's it. And that's how you add oil on a this is the 2.5 cylinder Passat. It's pretty much the same for cars, except your amount of oil and the dipstick's going to change, but this is pretty much the same procedure for most cars. So if this was helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.